Welcome to Christian Financial Perspectives, where you're invited to gain insight, wisdom, and knowledge about how Christians integrate their faith, life, and finances with a biblical worldview. Here's your Christian Financial Advisors host, Bob Barber, and his co-host, Shawn Peters. Welcome to another episode of Christian Financial Perspectives. We're so glad that you joined us. If you like financial topics from a Christian perspective, we'd love you to smash that subscribe button and maybe like this video and share it with others. It helps the channel and helps other people find content like this. So today we are going to be covering part 2 on 12 life events that require financial advice and planning. We're going to do, just for those of you who maybe missed the other episode, you can either click that link in the description or you can go ahead and we'll give you a quick little recap. So last week we covered the first 6 of the 12, and the verse we wanted to give you guys is, again, Proverbs 21:5, which is, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to advantage, but everyone who is hasty comes surely to poverty." So, Bob, do you want to recap the 6 from part 1 last week?
I sure do, and this would be just a recap. I really emphasize you go back and that you watch
part 1.
Watch part 1 or listen to it through the podcast, because we get into detail what the reasons are behind each one of these. But this really has to do with life events, and life events require financial advice and financial planning, and they require it before these events occur. Sometimes, though, you can't help it for it to be after, okay? Like one of the events we talked about last week was death in the family, okay? That's right. That's an event that must require financial advice and planning. The first one last week was retirement. Then we talked about divorce. Hopefully you'll do that before divorce. You need to look at that. Then another life event is a new marriage. That could be the first marriage, or it could be the death of a spouse and you're remarrying somebody new. Disability or major illness. And the 6th one was a big one in my book, is before any large purchases are done, Shawn, like right. An RV or a boat or an airplane or that second
or
vacation
some sort of property.
Home. Yeah, some sort of property. Exactly. So today we're going to get into detail in part 2. Again, we went in a lot of detail in part 1, so I'd invite you to go back and listen or watch that. So another life event that we see, so we're going to go 7 through 12, is you need to do some financial advice. Look for some good financial advice and planning. I always emphasize an experienced advisor if you're not going to use us. I've got so much experience, it's crazy. It's like 30 plus years.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. But I've seen so many of these. I've seen all of these life events being a financial advisor during my years. But that's before the sale of any sizable asset, Shawn.
So number 1 for today, or number 7 in our full list, you want to get good financial advice and planning before you sell any sizable
not after,
asset.
Please.
Yeah.
You can come
Afterwards,
to us
it's
after.
too late.
We'll try to help you best we can, but for tax consequences, you got to do this before. And you got to do this even before. If you're planning on selling a large piece of real estate, you need to do this before you even enter into a contract for that real estate.
That's right.
Because we may advise doing a charitable remainder trust as an example, putting that real estate in that and then selling it, especially if it's a couple $1 million piece of property. Yeah. But anything that's $100,000 plus, you need to get with a financial advisor or planner. And that's like land, a large stock position is another thing, an investment property, a business. Yeah. If I sold my business, my basis in this business is 0. It's going to be all capital gain, Shawn. So
so how do you handle that?
Yeah, how do I handle that? And what can be done in advance to lower taxes? And so many things can be done. But I've so many times they call me and they say, "Hey, we've got $3 million. We just sold the property. What can we do to lower the taxes?" Well, there's not
much now.
There's not a lot.
Once the sales occurred. Yeah. So again, that is before the sale of any sizable asset. And we would just say, as a general rule, anything about $100,000 or more, make sure you get some advice and planning before you enter into the contract or sell.
That's right.
All right, so the next one, a job change.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this is one that I think occurs somewhat frequently, depending on the job.
Nowadays it does, yeah.
So how will you manage your old retirement plan? Or do you have, if you have the experience to manage it yourself and a written investment strategy for managing it, maybe you can manage it yourself.
Never met one yet that had a
No,
written
we
investment
haven't,
strategy.
Unless it's a financial advisor.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
what are you going to do with that old 401k? And that job change could also mean a higher income. And
Yep.
what's that going to look like?
Exactly.
Okay? Which takes us to our ninth one, which
Exactly.
is another major life event.
You get advancement in a job, and
Yeah.
so now you're going to have higher income, which means you want to do a little bit of tax planning. So,
Right.
and again, similar to when you're selling that asset, this one is, I guess, technically after the job advancement or job change has occurred, but before you've already finished the year and you're about to file your taxes in a couple weeks.
That's not the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you
if
really
you
need
make
to do
that
it
job
before.
change, talk to somebody about the financial planning and the advice, and plan for, okay, well, what is my estimated annual income going to be compared to last year? How's that going to affect like my situation, and what can I do to reduce the overall tax burden?
And I think also what's so important about an advancement in a job where maybe your income goes from $70,000 to $100,000. You've had a huge raise. You've gone up $30,000. Does that mean you should go out and spend all that money now?
No.
Exactly.
First of all, congrats. But second of all, no, don't spend all of that.
We're not going to say, not to raise your standard of living a little bit with that. I mean, maybe at that $30,000 raise, $10,000 for that. But the taxes are going to take another 5 or 6 of that.
Right.
And then let's look at saving the rest. As we said, because of that advancement, you may be able to completely max out your 401k.
Now,
well, you're not doing that now.
I'm gonna give my brother a little bit of praise here for an example. He's a doctor. He's a primary care physician, and I know when he and his wife, when he was going through med school, they were very frugal because med school is expensive for one thing.
Yep.
He was even working at Best Buy for a little while because just for some extra income.
Yeah.
And what they did is, as soon as he graduated and he was actually starting to get doctor money, they stayed on almost exactly the same budget for quite a few years because they were able to accelerate paying off his student loan debt. And so that was one of those things where, his income went up significantly, but instead of all of that just going to a higher standard of living, they decided, you know what, let's save some of this money and let's use some of this money to pay off our debts.
I'm really smiling, Shawn, because I don't.
And he's a doctor. I'm so proud of him.
Well, you need to be proud of him because I don't hear this very much.
Yeah.
I hear, okay, our income went up, especially doctors. I want to congratulate myself now because I've been in med school for 10 or 12 years. And now we're used to living on $50,000 a year. Now all of a sudden I'm making $250,000, and they just go right up there and spend
expenses
all
go
that
all the way up to the income.
Yep. I'm not saying to not congratulate yourself, but if it goes from 50 to 250 and you're one of these doctors,
maybe go to 100. That's still celebrating.
Exactly, or 150, and save the rest, and like you say,
or pay off some debt. Get a combination.
Get rid of that debt. Okay, so
as an example.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so number 10 is a major life event that, again, you need to get within a financial advisor and do some planning. Is a new child or grandchild in the family.
That's right.
You got to look at things like insurance and estate planning. What's this child going to cost? Maybe a college plan that wants to be set up. I meet with so many of our younger, around your age. They're getting the new children in the family, and the grandparents would like to maybe set aside, start a college fund, and you can contact the grandparents.
And if they do, say thank you, and then make sure you get on that.
That's right. There's the 529 plan you can look at, or you could just set up a different, account and label that account for it.
Kind of earmark that as it doesn't have to be a 529 plan.
That's right.
But one of the benefits of not doing the 529 plan, if you open an account and you earmark it for one of your kids or for the grandkid. But if you earmark it for that, and let's say when that kid gets a little bit older, they decide to go kind of a non-standard path. Like maybe they're not going to go to a 4-year school, but maybe they're going to study abroad. Maybe they're going to go into something more vocational.
Maybe they're going to go in the ministry.
Yeah, maybe they're going to go into the ministry. Right. And so by not having that 529 plan, you then have the flexibility to help them with whatever that other path is that like you said,
That's
for
right.
ministry, if they're calling them in the ministry, well, great. Well, maybe you can help them with that church plant or whatever it is that they're wanting to do. So there's some option there. But it's funny, as of recording today, my daughter is turning 1. And
no.
so my wife and I,
And that's, by the way, y'all, that's my
that's
granddaughter.
his granddaughter.
Okay,
It's his favorite granddaughter, right?
exactly right.
It's the only one. But yeah, we've been looking at the insurance and the estate planning, just realizing, all right, well, with her being 1 and my son is 4, and like we're updating our estate planning and making sure that the insurance is enough, and making sure that should something happen to us, like how are we gonna take care of the kids, and who's first in line?
That's a life event. See,
but
this
those
is
are
a
all
life
those
event.
things. Yeah.
All right, now these next 2 are major life events as well, but this next one is a big life event, and we see a lot. We see all these a lot. I keep saying a lot, but we do.
Yeah.
But this next one is a large inheritance or sudden wealth, and I call it. You got to be careful with that sudden wealth syndrome.
Yep.
And this occurred a lot with where we're located, because we're just an hour away from what's called the Eagle Ford Shale, which is oil. Big oil.
A lot
it's
of
one
oil
of
and
the
gas.
largest in the world. And I saw this in a big way about 10 years ago, that all of a sudden, we talk about sudden wealth. It's this farmer out here has nothing, and they're getting a $2 million check. They need to immediately see.
Bob, how many times did you tell me that you would see farmers and ranchers that are making, $30,000 to $50,000 a year, and all of a sudden they're making $100,000 to $200,000 a month?
Oh, many times.
Like that, but it doesn't last either,
It
because
doesn't.
that oil is real strong at first, and then it starts to slow down,
and they end up going and buying second homes on the coast. They all want to buy the big boat, the big Ford F-350 King Ranch Edition that cost about $80,000 for the truck. And they're not thinking about the future. They're just thinking, okay, I've not had this. I want this right now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many of we went through and looked at, and they went through that wealth very quickly, and now they have nothing to show for it. They bought depreciating assets.
Yeah.
But then we have some that the old 80-20 rule, 20% said, well, I'm going to be wise with this. I'm not going to get crazy. And now they've got huge amounts of sums, $5 and $6 million sitting in their accounts, in their retirement accounts. And we did a lot of tax planning there too, and a large inheritance, And be careful about passing too much wealth down to your children too, where they can just spend it all right then. Maybe look at some trust planning. So all this requires good financial advice and planning. And then this takes us down to our last one of the day, which is not very often. I don't see this much at all.
A little less common.
But it's before you're thinking about starting or buying a new business. I do see this every once in a while. And where are the funds going to come from? Do you have the ability to lose all those funds?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Which is important.
We know business in the first couple of years, about 85 to 90% of businesses fail.
That's right.
Okay, so what type of business it is, and we need to plug all that into your financial plan. Again, like we were saying last week, the one that we made about 5 or 6 weeks ago that was called integrative financial planning.
That's right.
We can put all that information into our integrative financial planning, and it needs to be looked at. So there you go. There is 12 major life events that require financial planning. And Shawn, I can virtually guarantee you a lot of people have never thought about that. They just like,
well you know what I can guarantee
could
you,
see
Bob,
that. Okay, what can you?
Is that people watching or listening have probably experienced at least one of these.
Yeah.
In their lifetime.
Yeah.
And the longer you live, the more likely
you're gonna experience, or I'll probably experience 3 or 4 of them over my lifetime that definitely was in need of good financial advice and planning. We are here. Shawn and I are here, and our staff. We've got a wonderful staff here to serve you. Great advisors. I'm still advising myself. I love doing this. And if you have any of these life events that we've talked about over this week and last week, give us a call and or text us. You can text us and say, I'd like to speak with Bob or Shawn, or you can make an appointment right from our website. So our phone number is 830-609-6986, and you can text or call that. You can text that 24/7, and we'll get back to you the next day.
We'll get back to you during business hours.
Yeah, during business hours. Or go to our website. Check us out at ChristianFinancialAdvisors.com. Any last thoughts you want to share, Shawn?
No, I think we kind of covered everything.
Yeah, I think we
but,
have.
But like you said, we've got a team here. Bob and I aren't just pretty faces. We're on
There's
the
others
show.
behind us.
We
right?
got other people here too.
Right.
We got lots of advisors, and we're here to serve. So contact us, and we'd be happy to help you if you happen to be going through or are about to go through one of these life events.
That's all for today.
So, God bless, and thanks again for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to like and comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can get future updates. You can also follow us on social media, handle shown on screen. In the meantime, check out one of these other videos.